The truth is brutal. Some states in America are becoming financial traps with better marketing. They promise opportunity, sunshine, and a better life, but what you actually get is sky-high taxes, impossible housing costs, and stress levels that should come with a warning label. Right now, millions of Americans are on the move, chasing affordability, freedom, and peace of mind. But here's the twist. Many of them are running straight into the wrong states. These are the places where your paycheck disappears faster than your weekend, where traffic moves slower than government paperwork, and where affordable living is a myth told by real estate agents with creative lighting. And while everyone's busy arguing about which states are the best, no one's talking about the ones quietly draining wallets, patience, and sanity. Until now, because in this video, we're breaking down 10 America states you should never move to in 2026. You will regret it. And trust me, some of them will shock you. It's not just the usual suspects. A few on this list might make you rethink that dream move you've been planning. Welcome to Mr. Globe, where we cut through the hype and tell it like it is, with data, perspective, and a dash of sarcasm for flavor. If you're serious about living smart and avoiding costly mistakes, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned because your relocation regrets start right here. Number 10, New Mexico. It's breathtaking. Just don't leave your car unlocked. Few states can compete with New Mexico's jaw-dropping beauty. Between the glowing deserts, red cliffs, and those painterly sunsets that make you question your phone's color settings, it's hard not to fall in love at first sight. But as gorgeous as it looks on a postcard, living here can feel a lot less magical once you start dealing with what's behind the scenery. Let's start with the numbers. New Mexico's poverty rate hovers around 18%, one of the highest in the entire country. Combine that with low wages and a sluggish job market, and you've got a recipe that makes daily life more challenging than a desert hike at noon. Sure, Santa Fe might give you the artsy Southwest vibe and turquoise jewelry, but outside of the tourist zones, opportunities are thinner than the air at 7,000 feet. Then there's crime. And not the petty kind. Albuquerque, the state's largest city, consistently ranks near the top for both violent and property crimes. It's the kind of place where you lock your doors twice, even when you're home. That Breaking Bad aesthetic? Yeah, that wasn't all fiction. And while the landscapes are stunning, the infrastructure isn't. Roads and public systems are aging fast, rural healthcare is limited, and access to specialists can mean driving hours, assuming your car survives the trip. Still, it's not all bad news. New Mexico offers affordable housing, a rich cultural history, and skies so clear, NASA probably takes notes. But affordability alone doesn't fix the big problems that drive people out: safety, opportunity, and stability. So yes, if you're visiting for the views, New Mexico is a dream. But if you're planning to plant roots and build a life, you might find yourself in a love-hate relationship, heavy on the hate when the repair bills start rolling in. In short, New Mexico looks like a paradise, but feels like a warning label. Number 9, Nevada. What happens in Vegas might just stay on your credit card bill. Nevada is one of those states that looks great in headlines. No state income tax, warm weather, entertainment everywhere. On paper, it sounds like the financial and lifestyle jackpot. But in reality, it's a bit like winning big at the slot machines, only to realize you've spent twice as much getting there. Let's start with the big myth. No state income tax means cheap living. Spoiler, it doesn't. Because while you're celebrating your tax-free paycheck, housing costs, utilities, and groceries are quietly plotting against you. Las Vegas and Reno, Nevada's main metros, have seen housing inflation skyrocket over the past few years. Some neighborhoods have doubled in price since 2020. Renters are especially feeling the heat, with average prices far above national norms. And then there's the water problem. A serious one. Nevada's growth boom is clashing hard with a dwindling Colorado River supply. The state is literally running out of water faster than new residents can unpack their boxes. It's not exactly comforting when your dream desert home might come with hydration optional. Economically, the state still leans heavily on tourism, casinos, and entertainment, which means job stability is about as consistent as a blackjack streak. When the economy dips, so do the opportunities. And while the lights of Vegas might blind you with glamour, crime rates, especially property crimes, remain well above the national average. Even outside the cities, Nevada's rural towns face limited access to healthcare, rising costs, and isolation that makes middle of nowhere sound generous. Now, to be fair, the state's got some perks. Stunning desert vistas, world-class dining, and sunsets so dramatic they deserve their own show on the Strip. But for many newcomers, the tax-free promise quickly turns into a cash-strapped reality. So yes, Nevada will dazzle you right before it drains your wallet and your water supply. For the smart movers, this might be one dream worth keeping in Vegas and leaving there. Number 8. Oregon. Oregon's green until you see your bank account turn red. It's hard not to fall in love with Oregon at first sight. The landscapes are straight out of a fantasy novel. Dramatic coastlines, mossy forests, snow-capped peaks, and enough craft coffee to keep the entire West Coast awake until 2030. But once you stop sightseeing and start paying bills, that fairy tale quickly turns into a financial horror story. Let's start with the numbers. Portland's cost of living is about 32% higher than the national average, and housing prices have skyrocketed beyond reason. Want a one-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood? That'll be $1,800 a month, and that's before utilities, parking, or therapy for dealing with the rent. And while the state's natural beauty is breathtaking, so is its growing homelessness crisis and drug epidemic, particularly in Portland. Once hailed as one of America's most livable cities, Portland has become a cautionary tale for how quickly progressive dreams can collide with real-world economics. Then there's the tax situation. Oregon doesn't have a sales tax, which sounds nice until you realize the state makes up for it with some of the highest income taxes in the country. Translation: the government gets its share, one way or another. Affordable housing? Not really. Even smaller cities like Eugene, Bend, and Medford have seen massive price spikes as remote workers from California and Washington pour in. Locals joke that Oregon is becoming California light. The prices are creeping up, but at least it rains more. Of course, Oregon's still a great place to visit. You can hike the Cascades, sip wine in the Willamette Valley, or watch waves crash along Cannon Beach. But living here full-time means embracing a lifestyle where every latte comes with a side of sticker shock. So yes, Oregon's green in every sense. Just make sure your wallet is too. Number 7. Hawaii. They say paradise has a price. In Hawaii, that price is about $900,000, and that's just for the median home. On paper, Hawaii looks like a dream. Swaying palms, turquoise waves, and the kind of sunsets that make even your camera jealous. But once you stop sipping piña coladas and start looking at the grocery bill, the dream starts to fade faster than a tan in February. Everything in Hawaii is expensive because almost everything has to be imported, from milk and bread to gas and lumber. Groceries here run 50 to 70% above the US average, and a gallon of milk can cost more than your morning latte. Add in some of the highest utility prices in the nation, and suddenly off-grid living sounds less like a lifestyle choice and more like a financial necessity. Then there's the job market. Unless you work in tourism, hospitality, or government, finding well-paying, sustainable work can feel like trying to surf without a board. The state's heavy dependence on tourism means that when visitors stay away, like during a pandemic or economic slowdown, locals feel it hard. And speaking of locals, here's the heartbreaking part. Many lifelong residents are leaving, not because they want to, but because they simply can't afford to stay. Hawaii is also notorious for strict zoning and land use laws, which make new housing development nearly impossible, driving prices even higher. It's a paradise caught in a paradox. Beautiful to visit, brutal to afford. And while the weather is unbeatable, the same can't always be said for the infrastructure. Older buildings, limited healthcare options on smaller islands, and long waits for services are all part of island life. So yes, Hawaii is stunning. It's peaceful, it's postcard perfect. But for most Americans, it's also a one-way ticket to financial exhaustion. If you're dreaming of moving to paradise, make sure you bring more than sunscreen. You'll need a second income, a backup plan, and maybe a few extra zeros in your savings. Because in Hawaii, even paradise comes with a receipt. Number 6. New York. If you can make it here, you can afford anywhere, because nowhere else costs this much. Welcome to New York, where the view is stunning, the pace is relentless, and the price tag is downright offensive. Whether you're drawn by the lights of Manhattan or the charm of upstate, one thing's for sure, your wallet won't be staying long. The cost of living in New York is roughly 40% above the national average, and it shows. Everything, housing, food, gas, insurance, even a cup of coffee, costs more here. In Manhattan, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment now hovers around $4,500 a month, which is enough to buy a car every year, or feed a small village in another state. And while the city that never sleeps might sound glamorous, it's also the city that never stops billing you. Between sky-high property taxes, hefty income taxes, and surcharges on everything from tolls to takeout, it feels like the government gets a cut of every breath you take. Then there's the weather. Upstate winters are like being trapped in a snow globe you can't shake your way out of, while downstate summers turn the subway into a sauna with rats. It's a place of extremes, in climate, in cost, and in patience. It's no wonder that over 100,000 residents leave New York every year, trading in their Broadway dreams for something a little more affordable. And who can blame them? Between crumbling infrastructure, traffic that feels personal, and the endless noise, even diehard New Yorkers sometimes fantasize about silence and space. But let's give credit where it's due. New York is still an icon. It's bold, it's brilliant, and it's bursting with opportunity. If you can survive the price of admission. We're officially halfway through the countdown. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching and hanging out with us here on Mr. Globe, where we explore the real costs and hidden truths of life in America. Don't forget to tap that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, how much would you pay to live in the city that never sleeps? Number 5. California, where dreams are made, wallets are emptied, and sunshine is taxed by the hour. On the surface, it's paradise. The beaches, gorgeous. The food, Michelin-starred. The weather, a 10/10, every single day. But before you pack your bags for the Golden State, you might want to check that your savings account is also gold-plated, because California has perfected the art of being both beautiful and brutally expensive. Let's talk numbers. The median home price sits above $800,000, nearly double the national average. Even a starter home can make your mortgage broker break into a cold sweat. Renters aren't spared either. One-bedroom apartments in coastal cities like Los Angeles or San Francisco routinely cost $3,000 to $4,000 a month. And that's before parking, pets, or electricity, which might flicker off during the next rolling blackout. California also boasts some of the highest taxes in the country. Income, property, gas, you name it. It's like the state decided to test just how much residents will tolerate for the privilege of seeing the ocean. And while you're paying through the nose, you'll also be navigating wildfires, droughts, and earthquakes, all in the same year, because California doesn't do anything halfway. Here's the truth. People are leaving. Over 800,000 residents have moved out in just the past couple of years, chasing affordability and sanity elsewhere. The state's population is shrinking faster than its reservoirs. Sure, California still has tech jobs, stunning national parks, and that endless summer vibe, but for most Americans, it's an endless cycle of bills, burnout, and broken dreams. Living here feels less like a lifestyle and more like a survival game with scenic views. Number 4. Illinois. Beautiful architecture, deep dish pizza, and a bill for both. Welcome to Illinois, where the pizza's thick, the taxes are thicker, and everyone's wondering why their paycheck feels thinner. Let's start with the big one, property taxes. Illinois has some of the highest in the entire nation, averaging around 2.1%, which might not sound like much until you realize that's nearly double what most states charge. Homeowners often find themselves paying thousands every year, just for the privilege of staying put. And that's before utilities, groceries, and the state's collection of creative fees that make your wallet feel personally targeted. Then there's Chicago, a city of stunning skyline views, world-class museums, and neighborhoods where a parking ticket can cost more than dinner for two. Chicago also struggles with crime rates well above the national average and a cost of living 20 to 25% higher than the U.S. median. Sure, the nightlife is electric and the jazz is legendary, but so is the rent. Step outside the city, though, and you'll find a different story. Rural Illinois is charming, quiet, and often jobless. With industries declining and younger generations moving away, many small towns feel like they've been left in economic slow motion. And let's not forget the state's debt problem. Illinois carries one of the highest unfunded pension liabilities in the U.S. Translation? The state owes more than it can ever comfortably repay, and taxpayers foot the interest. It's like living with a roommate who maxed out their credit card but still insists on splitting the bills fairly. The result? 9 straight years of population decline. People are packing up, chasing lower taxes and better opportunities elsewhere. Often to Indiana or Tennessee, where the phrase property tax doesn't make you flinch. Illinois has soul, no doubt. Its culture, food, and history are iconic. But unless you have a deep love for debt and a high tolerance for tax bills, it might be a love story best admired from afar. Number 3. Louisiana. There's no denying it. Louisiana is one of the most colorful, soulful, and flavorful states in America. The jazz, the food, the festivals, it's the kind of place that makes you want to dance in the street, preferably with a bowl of gumbo in hand. But once the music fades and reality kicks in, you start to realize that living here isn't quite as sweet as a beignet. Let's start with the obvious: infrastructure. Louisiana's roads are like a real-life obstacle course, except no one's giving out medals for finishing it. Bridges creak, highways crack, and drainage systems buckle every time it rains more than 10 minutes. The state has consistently ranked near the bottom in national infrastructure reports, and locals joke that potholes should be the official state flower. Then there's the healthcare and education system, both of which regularly fall into the bottom 5 nationwide. If you get sick or want a top-tier education for your kids, you might find yourself driving several hours, assuming the road hasn't flooded. Speaking of floods, let's talk hurricanes. Louisiana isn't just on Mother Nature's radar, it's her favorite target practice. Between hurricanes, tropical storms, and the occasional alligator invasion, it's one of the most disaster-prone states in the country. Add in sky-high insurance premiums, when you can even get coverage, and suddenly, that affordable house by the bayou doesn't look like such a bargain. And while New Orleans is world famous for its charm and culture, it also struggles with high crime rates and rising living costs. Outside the city, many rural areas face poverty, limited job opportunities, and slow recovery from decades of economic and environmental challenges. Yet somehow, Louisiana still captures hearts. Maybe it's the hospitality, maybe it's the spirit, or maybe it's that crawfish boil magic that makes you forget your roof might leak next week. Living here can be rewarding, but it comes with a constant reminder that beauty and hardship often dance to the same tune. In short, Louisiana is a feast for the senses, but it'll test your patience, your wallet, and sometimes your insurance policy. Number 2. Alaska. There's no doubt about it, Alaska is one of the most breathtaking places in America. Towering mountains, glassy fjords, endless forests, and northern lights that look photoshopped by God himself. But before you start packing your snow boots and survival gear, let's talk about what it actually takes to live in the last frontier. Spoiler, it's not for the faint of wallet or spirit. Yes, the views are free, but everything else will cost you dearly. Groceries, gas, and basic supplies can run 40 to 60% higher than the national average, thanks to the simple fact that nearly everything has to be flown or shipped in. A gallon of milk that costs $3.50 in the lower 48 can hit $8 or more in some Alaskan towns. Even fast food feels fancy when your burger combo costs as much as a movie ticket, assuming you can find a theater nearby. Then there's the weather. And it's not just cold. We're talking brutal, bone-numbing, frostbite on your toes cold. Winters can stretch half the year, with temperatures plunging below zero and daylight lasting about as long as your phone battery in the snow. That kind of darkness takes a toll. Not just physically, but mentally. Seasonal affective disorder (SAD) is so common here, it might as well be part of the census. Work opportunities? Limited and concentrated in oil, fishing, or government. If you're not a pipeline worker or a park ranger, you might find your options as thin as the sunlight in January. Remote living also means fewer doctors, fewer schools, and yes, fewer grocery stores. Forget Uber Eats. In parts of Alaska, you're lucky if the road to town isn't frozen shut. Sure, Alaskans are proud of their independence, resilience, and natural beauty, and rightfully so. But the reality is that for most Americans, this rugged lifestyle is more National Geographic than practical living. So yes, Alaska is stunning, wild, and unforgettable. But between the prices, the weather, and the isolation, living here can feel less like a dream and more like a cold, expensive endurance test. The adventure's real, but so is the struggle. Number 1. Mississippi. Welcome to Mississippi, the state that proves cheap living doesn't always mean easy living. On paper, it sounds like a dream. Low housing prices, low taxes, and a cost of living nearly 20% below the national average. But peel back the price tag and the reality isn't nearly as charming. Let's start with the basics. Income. Mississippi consistently ranks dead last in household income, with a median hovering around $55,000, far below the U.S. median of nearly $75,000. That means even with affordable homes, most residents are still struggling to make ends meet. And unfortunately, it's not just about paychecks, it's about opportunity. Industries are limited, wages are stagnant, and too many towns feel stuck in economic quicksand. Then there's healthcare, or rather, the lack of it. Mississippi has been ranked the weakest healthcare system in the nation, with hospitals closing, doctor shortages, and some of the highest rates of chronic illness anywhere in America. The obesity rate hovers near 40%, and combined with high unemployment and poverty levels, it creates a cycle that's tough to break. Education? It's another sore spot. The state's public school system continues to lag behind, and infrastructure, from roads to broadband, hasn't quite caught up to the 21st century. Some rural areas still feel like they're living in a time capsule, complete with unreliable internet and potholes that could qualify as swimming pools. Now, to be fair, Mississippi has its charms: soulful music, southern hospitality, and some of the best fried catfish you'll ever taste. The people are resilient, proud, and deeply connected to their communities. But for newcomers chasing opportunity, growth, or modern amenities, the state's struggles often outweigh its simplicity. So yes, Mississippi is affordable, but the question remains, at what cost? Low expenses mean little when jobs are scarce, healthcare is a gamble, and upward mobility feels out of reach. And that wraps up our countdown. We've journeyed through 10 states that may look appealing on paper but come with some serious fine print. Whether it's taxes, crime, or crumbling infrastructure, every state has its trade-offs. The trick is knowing what you're signing up for. Thank you for watching Mr. Globe, where we tell the truth about living smart and spending wisely. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which state surprised you the most on this list. Until next time, live smart, spend wisely, and choose your zip code carefully.